Our final speaker for this session, is Belinda Tato of Ecosistema Urbano. Belinda is an architect, landscape, and urban designer. She's the co-founder and co-director of Ecosistema Urbano, a design and consulting company operating within the fields of urbanism, architecture, engineering, and sociology, with offices in Madrid and Miami. Ecosistema Urbano defines their approach as urban social design, the design of urban spaces with a social agenda to empower local communities. This philosophy aims to involve the citizens in the creative and transformative processes of designing their own urban environments. The projects of Ecosistema Urbano aim to create spaces that are tailored to local climatic conditions, enabling social interaction in public spaces all year round, while remaining both comfortable and resource efficient. Please help me welcome Belinda to the virtual stage. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to be sharing a screen. Just give me 1 second. Oops. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's been a pleasure to listen to my colleagues before, and I look forward to listening to all the great speakers that are in the session today. I assume that everybody's seeing my screen and hearing me all right. So my name is Ecosistema Urbano. I've been working at the office. We created in the year 2000, and we had the opportunity to work in many different places around the world. That has exposed us to different cultures, different climatic conditions, and different everything. But I would like to start with this kind of statement, because design is important, because it transforms lives, transforms reality. It can change mindsets and behaviors. It can impact people's lives. It can improve ecosystems, and it can contribute to equity. Therefore, design can change the future, and therefore is political. And I want to emphasize this because everything that has been said so far today has to do with politics and politicians' decisions. So the work that we've been developing over the last 20 years is around these 3 pillars. The first one is the environmental, and how can we bring climatic comfort, enhance urban ecosystems, and make cities more resilient. The second one is about technology. How can we bring interaction, bring innovation, and create open processes? And the social aspect, which is the one that has been my work in this session, is about education, engagement, and equity, because I think, and I truly believe that our actions, our designs are pedagogical per nature, because we're creating the environment for people to thrive, for people to live, for people to learn. So I'm going to be presenting very quickly some of these examples. So the first one is about environment, and this is a school that we created for a city outside of Madrid. It's Rivas, and it was a competition, and they were asking for a building for children between 0 and 3 years old. But for us, it was not only important to deliver a high-performing, energy-efficient building, but also to create a landscape in front of it in which we could actually recycle the water. The water is going to be an issue in the south of Europe. It is already an issue, and it will be even more in the coming years. So the question was, how can we provide a sustainable solution to be able to recycle this water, so we could actually produce or design green areas around this kind of public school. So we partnered up with a company who works with macrophytes, and the macrophytes are very efficient in terms of removing pollutants from the water. So the idea was to not only kind of cleaning the water and recycling it, but also making it a kind of a feature that is public and visible for everyone. Because again, we're kind of making a statement every time that we're doing a design. So here we can see a close-up of the microphyte, and here we can see the lagoon that we created together with the topography, because the idea was to create some kind of shelter space and public space for the kids to be around. And here is an image where the microphytes are already kind of grown. So again, I would like to emphasize the social aspect, because even for this, which is a kind of, let's say, a technical solution, you really need to partner up. You really need to partner up with the officials in the city, with the people in the management, and with the community as a whole, because they are part of the solution. It makes no sense to deliver any kind of solution if it cannot be maintained over time. So again, the social component and the engagement has been present in all these projects. This is another project, probably everybody's, or most people may be familiar with it, but it's also about creating this climatic comfort in a space that was created mainly for the cars, for the car speed, and for the car air-conditioned environment. How can we bring something into the public space so that we create a more comfortable, a more remarkable public space that can be used in different ways? But again, it was not only about creating this infrastructure, which is kind of, very, noticeable, but also it was about planting trees, more trees, making this street more pedestrian friendly and bringing nature into it. And as a matter of fact, this structure has become kind of an ecosystem pole because there's a lot of birds nesting on it. So again, how can we soften up the configuration and the layout of the street to make it more pedestrian friendly, more green, more permeable, and also more useful for the people to gather around for different types of events. So again, every project that we have, we love design, we love to create this conversation, but we also love to see how people have used it. This is a different setting. This is West Palm Beach in South Florida in the US, and it was a competition for the redefinition of this waterfront. As you can see, it's a very tough edge between the city and the water. And not only that, but also because of the sea level rise, there's going to be a number of issues happening. So the idea was how can we make this waterfront more accessible, also in terms of equity? How can we make it possible for people who live in other neighborhoods and they don't have that many possibilities to come to the city center? How can we create the programs and the climatic comfort for making more usable? So we were also kind of creating this kind of climatic canopies, and the idea was to embed into the public space programs that are usually kind of isolated. For instance, a swimming pool. How can the public space or the plaza become a swimming pool? And how can we create this kind of buffer space also by the introduction of mangroves and all of that. So again, how can we make this edge a little bit softer? So of course, we had a number of different edges for the different portions of the waterfront. And also, as part of the competition, they were asking for solutions for an existing garage building. It is a public building, and the idea was to introduce program to make it again accessible, equitable. So the building had different programs, how to space for working in public space, and the idea was to emphasize this publicness of the building and this idea of climatic comfort through the understanding of how climate operates in Florida, because actually, space is very comfortable for most of the year, like for 10 months a year, and it's only in two peak moments in the summer that it gets very, very uncomfortable. So the idea was to work with nature, as it was mentioned. So how can we make the most of the resources? So we were understanding that the building was not fully climatized. There would be spaces of, fully climatized, half climatized, and open, completely open, and it could be completely, totally fine. And this is a small project that we just finalized. It was an intervention, a temporary installation in front of a public school in the city of Columbus, Indiana. So the idea was, again, how can we do something? This was conceived in the middle of the pandemic, so it's been implemented last summer, but we started the process last fall, and we were very uncertain of whether the school would be open. And so we were running a number of surveys with the kids and the teachers, and what they missed the most from the school, mainly the kids, was the social component, the hanging out with the friends. So our idea was, like, regardless the pandemic, whatever the situation is in 2021, we will create this kind of cloud room. So it's a classroom, transform into a cloud room that brings the climatic comfort, so that actually kids can, use it in different ways, and they can gather here for holding classes or for just hanging out. So these are some elements. It's a wooden structure, it's an inflatable, and it's been a very exciting process all the way through. And it's been exciting to also cooperate with a lighting designer, because the idea was to also, enhancing this idea of the education component. How can we bring some other elements? So in the interior of the inflatable, we have this cloud of words, which come from the surveys that we run with the kids and the things that they miss the most from coming to the school. So again, the social component, how people have conquered, embraced, used the space in different ways, and they posted on the Instagram, they did these drone videos. Because again, what we're doing is creating a space for people to gather, for people to enjoy, for people to live, right? So, I think the most moving part is always this component, how people are using the spaces that we created. So for technology, we've been exploring ways of creating the interfaces and how can people utilize space in different ways now that we have these technologies kind of out our hand. So this is a project that we're currently building in the city of Malaga. It is a boulevard just in front of the University of Malaga. So the idea was, this was also pre-pandemic, how can we bring some of the academic activity that usually takes place indoors to the outside space so that it can become a kind of a, interface between the academic community and the people living in Malaga. So how can we also get advantage of the climatic comfort that takes place most of the year to create this kind of possibility? So these are the configurations of some open air classrooms. But also, again, the educational component linked to the technology. This is a small project that we built in the Netherlands, and it's a carousel that, with the movement and rotation of the kids, is producing energy for the lighting in the night. So again, how can we embed sustainability as an educational component to become an everyday life experience? And also in terms of participation, we developed this tool to create this conversation. How can we gather information of how people feel about their space? We were using here the red for the problems and the blue for the opportunities, and we've implemented this in different parts of the world. And the last section is the social. So we've been doing participatory processes in many different places, in different ways, different scales. We like to plan design as these two parallel lines. There is always this kind of understanding the space, but also understanding the social component and how the social component and the activities that we develop are informing design and is returning to the social component. So it's somehow we're weaving this conversation between these two layers. So this is a project that we did in Norway, in which I'm not going to play the whole video, but again, this idea of kind of gathering information from the society to make a project and a design that is kind of collecting their dreams and expectations and transforming them into solutions. So it was called Dream Hammer, and we ran a number of workshops and activities with the people locally, but also digitally through the website and all of that. And also we did this kind of thing that we like, these urban actions. How can you transform very quickly by very low means a space that has been mostly a parking space for the last 50 years? We invited the collective Boa Mistura, and they were painting and transforming the parking lot into an origin sweater pattern. So the idea was to provide experiences. So this idea that, again, participation is not only about talking and exchanging ideas, which is great, but another component is how can we design experiences and how can we mock them up so that we start talking about experiences that people are having, on the spot. So we created this kind of the cream hammer, with a number of activities, the green hammer, the light hammer, the plate hammer, a number of gatherings to show that the space could be much more than just a parking lot. Because again, if we don't, connect with people who have to use the space and take care of it and demand it and claim it for the next few years, the design could be kind of a challenge. So we created also this activity with more than 1,400 kids. They were engaged, producing at their schools their own, models, their own ideas. So somehow the kids became ambassadors of the project in their community, in their families, and so on and so forth. So we've run a number of different activities to engage into the conversations. I love words. I love working with words. This was in Tegucigalpa in Honduras, in which we launched students, with 2,200 post-it notes to the street to collect ideas. And this was kind of the final action after a number of other actions. So this idea of, we can have lengthy projects or lengthy processes of engagement, but we can also get into action with something quick and try to get inspiration very quickly. Different tools, different things, how can we transform things? How can we get kids to talk about their public space in different ways? How can they understand that also the city is a process of negotiation in different ways? So, and this is, the very final project. This was in Exuma in the Bahamas. And we were there only for a week. We were not in charge of the planning, but we were asked to produce some kind of participation, which is kind of tricky because, of course, you're not going to be there to guarantee that their income, that their inputs are going to be taken care of. So we create this kind of very quick installation. We did a number of activities with the local schools and with the high school, gathering information again, what were the problems of their city, what were their dreams for their city. And, kids are very creative, very ambitious. They really want to transform the world for the good, right? So they created these origami flowers, and the idea was to give something in return to the community. So we made this installation of the origami flowers, and this was kind of the final output of the very short participatory process. And I can end with this video.
Imagine an open university that integrates into urban life. Interactive public spaces that promote conversations between disciplines. Technologies and digital interfaces that boost knowledge sharing. In a natural, bioclimatically conditioned environment. Creating connected spaces that enhance exchange between students, teachers, and visitors. The main boulevard at the Universidad de Málaga connects existing facilities and opens up the campus to the public, creating a pedestrian walkway activated by hubs or public squares with learning and leisure spaces, incorporating technology to create an interactive urban environment connected to the digital world, an ecological corridor that efficiently manages resources, creating diverse natural landscapes. Pedestrian walkways protected by natural buffers become the perfect setting for meeting up, resting, and relaxing. Through a digital application, users can interact with the surrounding environment and access an augmented reality with academic and cultural content. The Climatic and Digital Hub integrates collaborative learning spaces, allows the interactive modification of environmental conditions, and generates all of the park's energy. The Hub's canopy hosts technological systems that connect users to the physical space and the digital environment. Along the boulevard, open classrooms are equipped to extend the university experience to public spaces. An extensive network of sensors generate open data that enables climatic research and allows real-time identification of the most comfortable zones of the boulevard. The tranquil Olive Grove's open library encourages reading and resting while promoting and protecting biodiversity. A connected, open, interactive, and green campus. An intelligent natural space with positive energy balance and bioclimatic comfort. A positive space where collaboration, creativity, and learning define the urban scene.
Okay, thank you very much.